Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Hokyoji Sunday Morning Dharma Talk. It is my privilege this morning to welcome Associate Teacher Reverend Myo-O Habermas-Scher. And Reverend Myo-O practiced with Katagiri Roshi from 1975 until his death in 1990. She also trained for 12 years in the Vipassana tradition. She received Dharma transmission in 2012 from Dokai at Hokyoji. Myo is a master movement teacher and teaches somatically based vocal training. In 2021, she retired after 14 years as an interfaith staff chaplain at the University of Minnesota Medical Center MHealth Fairview. She's also a mom and a grandmother to two little grandsons. So, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Morning. So the name of my talk this morning is The Responsive Don't Know Mind. I'm just still coming out of I took the winter for personal practice, and during that time I did a month-long structured online retreat. So I was at home, but I was practicing with about 60 other people from around the world. I usually listen to Minnesota Public Radio a lot, every day, but I turned off the radio starting on March 15th, and I haven't turned it back on yet. And even though my radio's not on, I am very aware of the frightening and difficult environment we're living in, brought to me by the headlines from the Star Tribune newspaper and the New York Times in my email. Responses to the news look like anger, fear, chaos, desolation, frustration, and most recently, many rallies across the country, which I actually joined the one in St. Paul, and I made a poster, which wasn't very clever compared to the signs other people were carrying, but my sign said, "Hatred never ceases by hatred," because I couldn't get the whole quote from the Dhammapada on the sign, which goes, "Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law." So I just put the first part. So in all of this, I'm practicing with a radical sounding pith phrase, just don't know. So we have this phrase in Zen practice, just don't know mind. And I'm not suggesting that I or anyone else stick our heads in the sand or become a Pollyanna. What's going on sure looks huge. It's really happening, and we can't ignore it. And yet, we each have to find our own responses. So I understand, just don't know, to bring me a step back and to open the space of understanding in my heart mind. It looks horrendous out there. And what's happening goes against everything I value. If what I perceive is the only thing that's going on, there's no hope and no possibility for other choices to be made. So I lean back into just don't know, while at the same time looking clearly at what's happening. this space not occupied by what I already know holds the possibility of nourishing my heart and soul with wisdom and energy and possibly making an appropriate response. Hi, Ado. So, how is it for us right now when we're being asked to give support, when we may already be feeling depleted and overwhelmed, or when we are being asked for support from so many directions at the same time, like now? So, I'm going to share a story told by an American Korean Zen teacher, Master Bonyon. That's the Dharma name and title for Jane McLaughlin Dobige, who's the guiding teacher of the Cambridge Zen Center of the Kwan School of Zen. She wrote, "When I first started practicing, I went to Nepal to look for a teacher. At that time, there was a famous Tibetan Rinpoche at Swayambhu Monastery. The steps up to the monastery are lined on either side with dozens of monkeys and beggars, both of whom are equally persistent in their efforts to obtain something from you. On the way up these steps to see Trangu Rinpoche, a woman grabbed hold of my skirt, saying, 'Mem sab, paisa. Venerable person, give me some change.' She was maybe the 40th person to ask that day. I was immediately exasperated by the woman grabbing at me. It felt as though the enormity of her need and all these people's needs far outstretched my ability to respond materially. So how could I respond at all? I begrudgingly reached into my pocket and gave her some money. I was climbing the wide steps to receive these teachings on clarity, compassion, and saving all beings. Here was a real life situation, and all I felt was annoyed. I went in to see the Rinpoche. As I was bowing to him, he asked, 'Do you have any questions?' I told him about what had happened on the way up the steps. At the end of recounting this story, I asked, 'So what is more important, the motivation for an action or the action itself?' Outside, this woman got the money, so she was happy. But inside, my heart was closed." Good morning. So, as I have contemplated this story as a koan, because I can totally imagine how that might have felt myself. I can imagine myself getting exasperated. So another story from Dogen's fascicle, Only Buddha and Buddha, arose in my mind. Dokai offered me this bit in 2006 when I was practicing at Hokyoji during my Shuso head student time. So here's Dogen. Long ago, a monk asked an old master, "When hundreds, thousands, or myriads of objects come all at once, what should be done?" The master replied, "Don't try to control them." What he means is that in whatever way objects come, do not try to change them. Whatever comes is the Buddha Dharma, not objects at all. Even if you try to control what comes, it cannot be controlled. So this is from Tanahashi's translation in Moon and a Dewdrop. That's a book. In the case of Master Bonyon, she was aware of a gap between how her heart felt and how she thought she should feel. That is, generous, loving, and responsive. I'm familiar with this feeling. Banyan offers her analysis of this troubling moment by asking which aspect of her response is more important or correct. Myriads of objects, i.e., beggars' needs, were assaulting her on all sides. What is an appropriate response? At this particular time, this seems to me to be the question of the hour. Dogen suggests, don't try to control them, meaning not controlling the beggar's demands, not controlling our internal overwhelm, but perhaps, as Reb Tenshin Anderson tells us, stay close and do nothing. Staying close requires trust in the practice, confidence in embodied mindfulness, and verified faith in the teachings of the Dharma. Uncomfortable sensations and thoughts may arise in this closeness as their Buddha nature is revealed. This is the experience of don't try to control them. It takes guts, longing, and the willingness to return the mind to the moment, no matter what. If we want to know how to fix the problem that we name, the Dharma won't do that. It's not about fixing. It's about being generous with the moment and generous with all the selves that arise. Another reply to the question, when myriads of objects come all at once, what should be done is hit the one in the middle. So hit the one in the middle. I couldn't find where I saw that. I looked and looked, but I couldn't find it. But I know it's a Dogen thing. So it implies that clinging to rigid viewpoints or actions leads to imbalance and dissatisfaction. Hit the one in the middle can be seen as a call to find harmony in integrating opposing forces. However, it's tricky because if I say that, it sounds like there's something I'm supposed to do to integrate opposing forces. You know, like there's a task, I'm supposed to get it right, I'm supposed to fix it, but I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. Even if I have that thought, like, oh, that would be good, integrate light and dark, positive and negative, yin and yang, like, however, it doesn't work like it's a task I can do. Something can arise in response to the everything working all at once. So the Buddha said, when you sit, don't be too tight, don't be too loose. So balanced and effective, but where is that? Not too tight, not too loose. We can't say exactly. But when it's happening, it's happening. So I think that not controlling is a teaching that has to do with our need to be generous with ourselves, if we are ever to be generous or compassionate with others. Like we can't fix ourselves. This naturally arising quality of responding, I think, is most important, and it comes by itself. So I'm going to say something that's not in my my paper. I have had such great luck that I have been trained in all kinds of improvisation, movement improv, speaking improv, musical improv. And what I noticed as a concrete example is that when I worked at Hennepin County Medical Center in Minneapolis, um, which is a level 4 trauma center, uh, and I would go into what's called the STABE room, the stabilization room. It's like in the movies or, those TV shows where they have 4 bays, 4 beds, and people are run in and out and attending to a patient, going somewhere else, and the police come in and out, and the rolling beds come in, the EMS come in and out, and it is like traffic in New York, but very intense. And what I started to realize was that all that improvisation really helped me respond with just don't know and get out of the way of the EMS, go talk to the cop for a second, talk to the head nurse, get out of the way, make a phone call. It was like this, it was like electrons going around all the time. And I was trying to practice, of course, in the middle of all this, being mindful. And one time, I don't know if he was from Somalia, but something like that. And he and his brother had been robbing a gas station, and he had a heart attack. And so they brought him to Hennepin County. Of course, I couldn't speak his language, and I was trying to take care of him. And I was talking to the police on the phone, saying, I need to talk to his brother. And the police were saying, well, you can't do that, ma'am. Blah, blah, blah. So there was all this going on, and the guy was dying in front of me. And I remember I just sat there and I started chanting in Arabic under my breath, which I learned from my husband, who was a Sufi practitioner. And I tried to visualize him at home, not in February in cold Minnesota, but back home where it was hot and dry. Like how, this is improvisation. This is a naturally creative response to the moment. I call it improvisation. So I kind of think that Zazen in a way is improvisation. All the myriad objects are coming. So the most important thing we can offer to ourselves or anyone else is clarity of mind and heart and gentle kindness, starting with all the internal selves that line the steps to our own monastery. If we're always trying to be generous or kind or become something better than we are at that moment, then we are the suffering of separation and despair ourselves. Does that make sense? So that it's tricky, right? Because we want to be better. Like I want to incline towards being free of, make a list. And yet, just don't know. Step back. So it's not about trying to do or be anything other than to allow ourselves to be in alignment with our most sincere values. And it functions in the body like a reflex. We train this reflex in our spiritual practice. We're born with the equipment, and we need to train it. It's a deep and freeing thing to accept with wise understanding that the realm we live in is unreliable, impermanent, uncontrollable, and that everything that is presently extant will decline and pass away. This is how it is. To be intimate with all aspects of this, including the love and the grief, takes spiritual stability and compassionate insight. When our usual sense of self softens and lets go of the idea that it can control the realm, control how things are, it is truly empowering. And this can certainly feel contradictory to our ordinary understanding and even crazy. But it's the opposite of crazy. It's mature. It's love, wisdom, and compassion, and clarity of heart. Where is the source from which there's no self to give and no other to receive, separate from each other? That source is only endlessly giving. So how can we know the source? To know the source is a spiritual leap, backed up by inquiry and training. So it's available to us, anyone, everyone, anytime, and it's most natural. We need to awaken our longing in order to meet it. It's free, and it requires some effort on our parts, and then that effort becomes effortless at some point. There are many, many ways of entering into and experiencing this source and the responses that it allows us to make. I'm sure that everyone on this call has touched into such an experience sometime because it's naturally arising. One time, after completing a 2.5 hour movement improvisation thing that I do in a group, I was driving, exiting the highway off of 94 on Cedar, and there was a man standing with a sign at the exit. And I have different responses to that when I see it. But at that moment, I think he had a sign that said something like hepatitis C or something like that. He looked absolutely terrible. And without thinking, without like, oh, I'm doing something, there wasn't anything like that. I just gave him a $20 bill, which I don't do normally. So it just happened. It just happened. And it felt wonderful to me. He was happy, but I was happy. And there was no me. So here's a story about Ryokan, which you probably already know. Famous Zen Japanese poet and master. Ryokan, a Zen master, lived the simplest kind of life in a little hut at the foot of a mountain. One evening, a thief visited the hut, only to discover there was nothing in it to steal. Ryokan returned and caught him. "You may have come a long way to visit me," he told the prowler, "and you should not return empty-handed. Please take my clothes as a gift." The thief was bewildered. He took the clothes and slunk away. Ryokan sat naked, watching the moon. "Poor fellow," he mused. "I wish I could give him this beautiful moon." Can you imagine? So when I read this story again, which I love this story, I remembered watching this film by Steven Spielberg. It's called The Last Days, and it's a documentary about 5 Hungarian Jews that survived Auschwitz. And my husband, who never cries, was crying, and I wasn't crying, which is unusual, but what I realized, I just realized, oh, what the Nazis tried to kill cannot be killed. It's not killable. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But for me, it was like, being in Sesshin and having a gang, like, oh my gosh. So the source cannot be stolen. So in our tradition, responding or giving is one of the foundational aspects of practice. There are three classical foundations: dana, giving; sila, or moral conduct; and bhavana, or contemplative training, mind training. But dana, giving, generosity, is the foundation of the foundation. It is said that dana underlies the entire path of practice and is completely fundamental to our spiritual aspiration and development. Giving is a kind of joyful death of the painful clinging of the ignorant self. This ignorant self sees it separate from all life. It's the original hungry ghost. No matter what it claims for itself, it is never really happy or free from fear, fully supported and connected. Although it keeps trying to establish itself by declaring its separateness, it always feels threatened. And we see that. We just see that operating in our world right now in a big way. But generosity is our natural state. You can see little babies. They like try to feed you. Haven't you ever been around a little baby, and they're eating and then they try to feed you? It's so natural. They're not thinking, I am good, I am feeding. It's just joyful. Here, put this in your mouth. So when I was preparing, I ran into this amazing organization in Vietnam called Blue Dragon Children's Foundation. They rescue hundreds of kids from slavery and work with homeless families. And they're asking these same questions we're asking. And so I'm going to read you what somebody in that organization wrote. As an NGO, how does Blue Dragon reconcile this gap between celebrating our achievements while acknowledging the crushing reality of what remains to be done? I thought, oh, that's a good question for now. So this guy says, my way of dealing with this over the years has been to embrace the contradictions, to accept that light and dark can exist at the same time and space. This means striving to make things better while also being at peace with what we cannot change for now. Our instinct is to want to try to fix things. After all, that's what we're here for. We want to see development, kids back in school, families leaving the streets to live in safe homes. We can't always achieve what we would like, and some situations will never change, no matter what we do. Rather than be disappointed, we need to see the value in simply caring. We can strive for development while accepting that sometimes all we can do is care. And then he tells a story of a grandmother that they knew from the street, because for years and years she was raising her extended family on the street in Ho Chi Minh City. She said, lots of people and organizations come by to give us things or tell us what to do, but you're the only people who stop and talk with me. We can deeply know this is how it is right now. We live in the world of opposites: life and death, praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain. But we also live in the universe of beyond all the opposites. And we can experience that truth as well. Just don't know mind opens the possibility of seeing. When responding wells up from that source, there is no effort, no strain, Giving gives itself to itself. And then I'll just read a little poem called Dhamma, translation, Dharma. This nun's name was Dhamma. Another day walking in circles with an empty bowl, leaning on my staff in the middle of the road, my whole body shaking with hunger. What little strength I had left me. As I was falling to the ground, I saw I was the spoonful of rice, and this whole world the bowl. You can't miss, even if you try. So that's all I have to say. And if you have anything you want to say, please feel free. Just either raise your hand or click that thing that makes your hand go up. You can find it. Or you guys over there, you can just wave your arms around in the Zendo.
The Zendo was remuted. You have to go back to Zoom. Anyone in the Zoomdo?
Yes.
No, the Zoom or the Zendo. Zoomdo or Zendo. Go ahead.
That's a speaker, I think. I think it's on. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Good. I don't have anything to say right now.
Okay.
Other than thank you for your talk. It was helpful and very on point.
Yes. Jan, what's your Dharma name again?
Ryushin.
Rushin. Yeah, I knew that. Rushin.
I'd like to read something that I've been working with since I'd say inauguration. This is from one of Jushin's favorite books, The Art of Just Sitting. So this is from a teacher who's trained in Rinzai as well as Soto. But anyway, during this retreat, one student came to me in a very emotional state, saying that her compassion had been moved powerfully, that she felt pity for suffering people and wanted to help them. From her point of view, this seemed like a very good experience to have, but I scolded her, saying, "You're just fooling around in sentimentality. This is not wisdom. In the mind of wisdom, there is no such thing as people needing to be pitied. Compassion is not simple sentimentality. It is just a natural response to help people."
Yay.
So it's pretty rare that we actually have these spontaneous moments where something just wells up. But it's a wonderful indication of who we really are, I think. It's a pretty brutal response, actually, to this poor person who had what she thought was a kind of a breakthrough feeling of compassion. But it is really getting the emotions tied up with this stuff when it's actually just such a natural response without all that extra stuff attached to it. So,
I'm with you, Ryushin, and just thinking about this young person who was starting to melt. like her heart was starting to open. And right at that moment, there was a lot of emotion. Anyway, I don't think I would have handled it quite that way. Even though, I mean, I see his point, but I don't know. I wasn't there in the moment to know if that would have been helpful to that person or not. But anyway, yeah.
Hi, Myo-O. I was struck by what you said about improvisation, because the example that Ryushin just gave and how you responded, it's like, yeah, I'm very rule bound. I'm very much a product of my culture and my ethnicity. And I asked myself, am I doing something out of pity? And it's really hard to answer that question. I don't know if I will in this lifetime about I'm sorry for. It's just a real, it's a real big question. So what you said about improvisation helps me, and I don't know why, but it's kind of more playful or creative instead of being stuck in another dualism of, am I feeling pity? Am I really doing this out of a peaceful place? Well, that goes for all social justice work, racial justice work, or to try to fix, because I am, as poor Bill knows, I'm a fixer. I want to fix. So anyway, I don't know if I have it's not really a question. It's just the word improvise is helpful. It's lighter for me because I get heavy with some of this. You know what I mean? I
Totally know what you mean. Totally. Is there something going on in the Zendo? Oh, they're muted.
Yeah, I don't know how you got muted in the Zendo again. You need to unmute at the computer and then turn on the microphone.
With reality here.
I haven't figured out all the microphones yet,
That's okay.
but
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Good. What the heck I was saying, or forget it and just figure out what I want to say right now. I think this improvisation thing, what really comes through to me pretty much every day, except when I succeed in kind of ignoring everything for an entire day, which can happen, is this trying to think my way through things. Now, it's not like the thinking isn't happening, but what I have taken refuge in my own practice is to try to come back immediately to the body, and that all by itself is kind of like, well, if I make progress on that, and that's very helpful, because whenever I'm in my head, that kind of multiplies thinking. And it's good for receiving, something that will, tell me something about what's going on. But dropping into just where am I feeling this in my body? What are the feelings? Because there's all this stuff happening that I have feelings about. And so it sounds like, well, you're sort of jumping into the fire in some way. You're jumping into the confusion. But that seems to actually work. It seems to actually work. Just get right in there with, well, because I don't know if there's gremlins or what's going on, but answers come back. And to make that slightly more concrete, I was shopping and got to the checkout line, and there was a woman who was in the process of checking out. There was a man in back of me, and all of a sudden several things started happening. So she was having trouble getting all of her stuff gathered up and loaded into her paper bag, while at the same time she's trying to pay for it. And then the guy behind me started basically swearing at her, not in a really loud way. And what I found myself doing was not what I just said it was good to do, but sort of, I didn't know what to do. And in a sense, it was occupying that I don't know what to do, but I moved to her and started helping her pack her bags. And she started having a conversation with me. And meanwhile, the guy's still talking in the background. And I said, "Sir, please take my place," because the cashier's sitting there kind of going, "Now what do I do?" So eventually we got her bags packed and she left. She had a few things to say to him. And he was checking out his stuff, and the other people that were behind him weren't sure what to do. And all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, "I shouldn't have said those things. I'm sorry." So you never know. You just never know. And that was because I was confused and kerflustered. So that gives me some confidence that it's okay. But we have such a strong instinct to know what we're doing and to be purposeful and be conscious. So I just want to share that, because being confused is actually works just great, you know.
Oh, thank you for that beautiful story, Kyoku. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have something? Oh, Yonan.
Yes, yeah.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. So, kind of what I'm kind of putting together between what you had said kind of towards the beginning and um, of the last thing that was said. So when I was very confused about the situation and how overwhelming everything was and still is. And I sat sashing in Hokyoji in the coldest winter I think I've ever been through. But at the end, I realized that I could not do nothing. I had to do something. But from the talk today, what I'm thinking is, I don't know what to do. I know I need to do something, but I don't know what to do. And that's okay. it's okay not to know what to do, because I think what you were saying is that something will arise, something to do will arise. And I might still be waiting for that, but I also, last weekend, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I went to the rally here and was very inspired, and realized there's lots of things I can do. I still don't know what exactly to do, but that's okay, I guess. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Ada-san, you need to unmute, darling.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. What this brought to mind is people are giving lots of examples of situations that they were in and where they had to act and they didn't know necessarily what was the right thing to do. Another thought I had about that is in some of these situations, when we're faced with that question, sometimes we're in a situation where we are the only one there who can do something. Now, we might not be the best person to handle that, but we're the only person who can handle it because we're there. And so, and the circumstances are asking us to do something. And so we do something. Anyway, and to me, he was like, that's kind of important to see, not to be evaluating like, I'm not the person who should be doing this, I'm not good at it, blah, blah. But somebody has to do something and I'm the only one here. And so I am called to do something and not nothing, something. And almost any something would be right in a sense, rather than doing nothing.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's exactly right. I mean, I go with that. And what's coming to mind, if I can tell a quick story, when I worked at Hennepin County, one evening we had to tell a young man who I'd been talking to for a couple of days in the evening. His mother was very ill. He was developmentally delayed and he didn't have a lot of resources. And he was drinking a Coke in a plastic bottle, and the staff, we were in a big room, and all these doctors and yada yada told him that his mother was not going to survive. And his mother was it for him. Like, she was the stabilizing force in his life, the only safety point. And I watched him just become so completely overwhelmed. And he took that Coke bottle and he was big, strong kid, and he threw it in the middle of the floor, and Coke went everywhere. And all the staff, everyone in the room was looking at me. And I was like, I don't know what to do. But I was the one who had to do something. So I did something. And it worked out. But like that, I thought, why are they looking at me? I'm the smallest person in this room. But like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, just what you said. Thank you so much for that. Are we done, you think? Anyone else?
Hold on. Oh, he's taking care of it. Noah, thank you. It just occurred to me that when you were talking, Phoebe, that doing something is already a picture in my head. It's already an idea. And that while I'm thinking about what to do, that's doing something too. So it's very subtle, and it can be shut up and sit down. It can be as confused as you are. So that's really quite a big practice. It involves, but it's a very important one because it helps us actually develop the capability to let go of our idea of self.
Thank you, Kyoku. And I want to say, letting go of our idea of self can be thrilling and amazing. Oh. So now what happens?
I'd like to tell a story about my dad.
Okay, go for it.
So your story of throwing the Coke on the floor reminded me of it. I was in Cub Scouts. I don't know what age you are when you're in Cub Scouts. You're pretty small, but we were in Western Pennsylvania, baby boom, blah blah blah. There were like 300 scouts gathered in the cafeteria at Hopewell Township High School, and for some reason there were maybe 300 scouts and maybe 60 70 parents there, and for some reason they had a person come in with a chimpanzee for entertainment for some reason, and the chimpanzee got nervous in his circumstances and peed on the floor, and all the scouts, of course, were young and stupid, and so find that very entertaining. And then the show must go on, whatever. But my dad, out of all these 60 or 70 adults there, somehow managed to go to find the janitor's closet, get a mop and some water, and clean the thing up. And I was kind of embarrassed because now everybody's going to think my dad's a janitor, but my dad was selfless about this whole thing. He just sees what needs to be done and he does it. And this is a spontaneous reaction. And I am so fortunate that I grew up with such a father setting such an example.
Ah, thank you, Rushin. That was beautiful. Thank you. Well, I feel like we really fed each other this morning. Thank you all so much.
All right. Are there any last comments that anyone has? Anything anyone else wants to add? All right. Thank you, Myo-O. And so next week there's no Dharma talk. We're taking Easter off. There was a sense that some people wanted to spend Easter with their grandchildren. So go color and roll eggs with your grandchildren. And the following week, Kyoku will be giving the Dharma talk. We have 2 weekends from now, two weeks from yesterday, in the Twin Cities is the annual membership meeting, which is attendable by Zoom, but we prefer you come in person. We'll all be there. There's directions on the website, hokyoji.org. So that is April 26th at 1 p.m. We also have May 1st, the True Heart Women's Retreat. That will be led by Kyoku and Toku Scott. We also have coming up, let's see, what do we have in June? GD will be, and others will be, they've been having an online Genjo Koan discussion group, and that retreat will be on Genjo Koan. So there'll be a nice retreat there starting on Wednesday, June 25th. So that's about the extent of what we have in store for you all. Let's go ahead and close with the 4 vows. Beings are numberless. I vow to say them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. All right. Thank you, everyone. And have a wonderful Sunday wherever you are. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody.